Hello, and welcome to the live astro healing, this time dedicated for Pisces. I'm going to wait a few seconds to see you join. I hope that it can be understood what I'm saying. Okay, then I'll start the healing now. It's a bit of a fuzzy energy because of Pisces today, and I think it should be noted that I noted down what I will say this time. Usually I don't need any notes, but for the Pisces energy, I was thinking there is a risk that I forget what I want to say. Although what I'm doing here is channeling, it's still the Pisces energy is so conducive to meditation and from the shadow side to escape from reality. So in this case, with the Pisces energy, it's sometimes challenging to do a video which needs maybe a more grounded state than the pure Pisces archetype. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So I will get out my notes, which are in communion with the Aquarius energy because I'm going to use a notepad which is correlated to technology. I was telling you the last time that Aquarians are pretty much spot on technology, and we still have a lot of the Aquarius energy. We are still in the cusp period, so as it was the discussion on this group before today and the other day about cusps. So yeah, there is still some influence from Aquarius, but we're transitioning into the full Pisces mood atmosphere. So I'm going to talk first a little bit about the so-called good sides of Pisces, which is the sides that we are most familiar with as spiritual people, or how you may say it. Pisces is the conducive energy to the spiritual path, to compassion, non-judgment, all these so-called Buddhist qualities. But not only Buddhist, all qualities related to religion, to spirituality, to self-discovery, self-love, self-compassion, and God are connected to Pisces. So there's also this theory that the age of Pisces is connected to the coming of Jesus and to Christianity and this whole period that was marked by the emergence of Christianity as we know it today. And it is all about compassion, about loving our brother, and so on, which are profoundly spiritual. So, but not only spirituality. Pisces is also connected to art, to diffuse the art, to empathy with art, to music, to revering about certain qualities of art or music. But yeah, I will not say anything about the shadow side yet. It's quite strong, and I'm saying it's quite strong because the Piscean energy is present in all spiritual seekers. So on the spiritual path, we pretty much are familiar with these shadows that I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to offer to channel healing for those aspects. And I feel it a little bit heavy, so yeah, I'm trying to go through it as gently as possible. I even did a lot of preparation for this video and charged my rosy quartz as well. And I'm just going to open up the space a little bit more. And I call upon the light spirits of the east, of the south, of the west, and of the north. May our sacred space be open. And I ask Jesus for enveloping our space with unconditional love. I ask from Lady Kuan Yin for healing for our hearts and our inner children. And for our inner spiritualist, or for our inner spiritual seeker. And I ask from the nature spirits and from Archangel Chamuel, groundedness. We as spiritual seekers, or finders, we may have found already what we're looking for, some of us, or of course we're still seeking for aspects and facets of the truth. But I really don't want to make this session about defining spirituality, but it's really hard not to, because yes, Pisces. Yes, and I'm sure you know at least one person or two who have their sun in Pisces and say, oh, I'm Pisces, that's the reason why I'm spiritual. You may know your own charts, and for example, in mine, it's clear that my moon is in the 12th house, which is the house of Pisces. So that's a strong indication for an important aspect in this energy. And also my Neptune, which is ruler of Pisces, one of the rulers, is conjunct my rising sign. So you should really do a checkup on your astro chart, and even if let's say your sun or rising sign has nothing to do with Pisces, you will probably find some strong correlations elsewhere, or a stellium, or some kind of important aspect in your chart. So it's really beautiful to think about it, because thinking that you're very passionate about spirituality, you're on this path of healing, of self-expression, of creating art, of embracing your divine feminine, it's like almost certainty that you are connected to this vibration. So one of my favorite aspects connected to it is surrendering anxiety to higher power, which is, I'm sure, one of our goals for sure. And you have heard this before: let go and let God. And this quote is also often mentioned among the support groups dealing with addictions. Why? Because yeah, this, I'm just going to do a little bit of a spoiler. One of the deepest, darkest shadow sides of this archetype is addiction. And yeah, as you have, I'm sure you have read about this, or you have experienced yourself, that the opposite of addiction is surrender to God, connection to the heart, to God, and so on, trusting that everything is fine, that the path is unfolding exactly as it should. There is no need to control it. So yeah, this is one of the teachings of Pisces. Another important element is meditation and self-reflection, because These tools are portal ways onto accessing the higher archetypes, higher energies of Pisces. And I'm sure that everybody who's into spirituality has tried meditation at least once. So, and the diehards, once they're doing it every day or several times a day, or life itself becomes a meditation by conscious breathing, by presence, by there's several different kinds of methods that can be used in this. And I am sure that this is no news for you, but that's in the program. We're talking about Pisces, and let's honor this and let's talk about ourselves more. So another thing is, interestingly, focus on the spiritual pathway, because many people are shown the spiritual path and they just choose not to go that way because it's just not doesn't resonate with them, right? So yeah, this is a distinctive feature or property of the Piscean energy, that you are drawn very strongly automatically. You cannot go off you can wander away, but you will most surely return, because it's in your spiritual DNA, in this Piscean archetype, to seek to never renounce the spiritual path. Only maybe for shorter times. Shorter times can also be lifetime long, of course, but more like an exception. And usually, I'm going to return again to that shadow side I mentioned. It's usually some form of addiction or escapism that refrains these people who are natural born inclined to the spiritual path to refuse it. But their lives mostly becomes a denial of it rather than a lack of interest in it. They might be even obsessed to go against it, or to go against people or ideologies which promote spirituality. So Pisces is not ideology. Pisces is pure energy, pure spiritual energy, discovery, opening up, meditation. So it's something that is not very clearly outlined. It's limitless. It's the God archetype. So it's wonderful. Yay! As a side note, as I said, the 12th house in the astral, in the natal chart, is the house of Pisces, which is the house of spirituality, but also the house of mental disorder and yeah, all kind of craziness and lunacy and so forth. So it's very expansive, a very all-encompassing energy, but it's also an energy that could lead to dissolution, to destruction of the self and ultimately of the world. So it's pretty heavy sometimes, but it's our strongest tool in shadow work. So pretty much, if we correlate with this archetype in our shadow work, we are pretty much there to win. Okay. In Piscean terms, there's no actual win or loss. There's a certain vagueness to it. Success is not very clearly defined. Success becomes also like an offensive word. It's more like love, communion, and letting go. These are the key words, right? And also self-love. and which is a very much sought after goal in nurturing the divine feminine, if we can say that, is part of this, of course. But there are many aspects to it. Let's continue, because I also want to devote some time to the healing of the shadow side. And yeah, I'm having a dialogue with you, so it feels like I'm getting multiple messages also from live viewers and also from the future ones who are going to watch this. So I didn't mean by any standard that Pisces is negative and has a lot of problems. It's in fact also trust in positive outcomes, but in a non-attached way. It's just I have faith. I believe that everything is and is going to be fine. It's going to be unfold just the way God wants to, and it's miraculous. And there's a connection with the universe, and nothing is a coincidence. Everything is in synchronicity with everything. Yes, and these are spiritual truths. And even if I say it just like this, it sounds like a decree. Because of our sacred space created here, because of this energy that accentuates, emphasizes the spiritual seeker in each one of us. And we may reactivate in us also all our dedication on the spiritual path. We may remember the first time we realized, wow, I think my life is transforming, something is happening. Is this the spiritual path? Well, I'm sure it was not quite like this, the interior dialogue, but in hindsight, if you would yeah, just say to yourself a few words about how it happened for you, that's when you truly unleashed this archetype, which was always present, in fact, but only got strengthened. And it's also welcoming change, Pisces. So contrary to popular belief that Pisces is only an addict and a very attached individual, no. The bright quality of Pisces is welcoming change. I mean, no spiritual evolution would be possible without welcoming change. And the spiritual seeker, the spiritual wanderer on the path is an individual or a collective that is permanently accepting change. Inner transformation requires change, and very often, or I can say always, reality reflects those changes. So yeah, it's the path of change, the path of embracing change, and ultimately letting go of the attachments and just coming to the realization that we are divine, we are one with God. There's nothing to be sad about. We have already everything that we want. We live heaven on earth. Beautiful. And now let's begin the shadow dance with a sparkle of angels around. And should you have a crystal around, I welcome your crystal in this sacred place and space. And I ask our High Lady and Mother Mary to bless our crystals with the frequency of healing, heart healing, unconditional love. And now, let's go through quickly. Just because we go quickly, it doesn't mean it's not deep. It's just we don't want to really dwell. We just want to outline some of these blocks or stigmas. We also have quite long history, right, with religious persecution and the witches that were persecuted. So people that were persecuted because of their religious or spiritual beliefs. But it doesn't matter. We don't need to dwell in it. We just need to touch the tip of that energy and ask for healing. If we are open to it and if we know how to. That's why we have the spirit guides. And that's why we have God. I ask God, or Mother, Father God, to support us in releasing all the pain related to persecutions we received in this or past lifetimes for our spiritual or religious beliefs. I ask that all this pain be transmuted with the help of the Creator, knowing that only love is real, knowing that by dispelling illusions, we are always safe, and we can choose to live our highest path possible, which is heaven on earth. And we also ask for guidance on how to live our highest path, how to manifest our highest path. Every step, every second of our existence. How we may keep ourselves vibrationally in this sacred space of heaven on earth. And you may feel some guidance coming right now. I can feel it. For one of you who is watching or will watch, is guidance related to moving to a new place or new house with a lot of nature, or just it's about changing your dwelling place, or changing a little bit the lifestyle to include a lot of nature. It's beautiful. Okay, so this was a little bit connected to victim mentality, but more from like a broad spectrum. It also applies to little examples of feeling like a victim. But if we compare this to the persecution over the ages of who we really are in spirit, in spiritual truth, divine beings, we can realize that it's nothing compared to this feeling that we can't be who we know that we are. But I ask anyway, Mother Mary and Jesus to heal any victim mentality, any victim programs that we may have left in our energy, in exchange for self-empowerment, inner peace, and strength that comes from divine power, which is not force, we know that. Divine power is simply being our authentic selves as goddesses. Yay! I love the goddesses. Okay, I'm calling upon the goddesses now. Please come to us. And I was connecting a little bit with Hecate the other day, so I call upon Hecate, the goddess of the witches. She's also an aspect of Isis, so I'm calling Isis. Yeah, and Hecate especially because this Chinese year is the year of the dog, and as you know, the spirit animal of Hecate is the dog. And I also call upon, let's see who. Okay, Brigid. Oh, Brigid. I recently had the Brigid ritual, so which is the goddess of fire, the herbs, the poetry, creativity. So all goddesses are Piscean, all goddesses are spiritual. I welcome all goddesses, also Kali. I feel you. And the next thing to be healed would be confusion and disorientation, which is, yeah, unfortunately connected usually to people who are daydreaming a lot, meditating a lot. I'm not saying that everybody is like that, but it's common to think about people like this that they're not very grounded. But it shouldn't be like that. So we are creatrixes, we are goddesses. We can adjust our energy, we can balance our energy, better said. So I ask the goddesses to heal any confusion and disorientation that is connected to Pisces energy and to our spiritual path. Heal and protect. And this may entail some action from us, meaning that if we note that we're a little bit confused or we're just daydreaming all day, it's something we can do about it. We can ask for grounding, and there are very good spirit guides that can help us with that. Or we can visualize ourselves as a tree with the roots firmly in the earth. Or you can simply go out in a park, and it also has a grounding effect. And I will call now on Metatron and Chamuel and the god Pan and on the Green Man to ground our energy. Please see yourself as a beautiful tree. The springtime that's almost here. And see your branches reaching the sky and channeling, downloading light from the skies and from the heavens. Angelic energies are coming through the branches. The light is going down to the roots, which go down in the earth to Mother Earth. And Mother Earth is sending us her blessing and her beautiful, protective, grounded energy. So we're blessed and connected from above and below, from within and without. And we ask the spirit guides to ground us in a very high vibrational reality. Because if we're confused and ungrounded, it doesn't mean necessarily it's something good. It doesn't mean that we're meditating while we're doing it. So there's also time for meditation, also time for action and being grounded. All the same in a high frequency reality. So it could be even that somebody who's meditating all the time and neglects everything in their life to have a lower frequency, that somebody who is meditating only a little bit or not at all, but is very balanced in all aspects of their lives. I recommend that you research the Wheel of Life, which is a tool used in life coaching, which is similar to the domains of life in the astro chart. So you can use both because they're actually the same thing. And you may give yourself a grade, like how well am I doing here, 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 here. And you will realize which aspect you've neglected. And maybe it's time to work on that. So meditation is a wonderful tool, but if done for the wrong purposes or in a way that is hurting yourself, it can be actually detrimental. Sorry to say that, but in most cases, of course, it's not. I mean, it's very good to meditate. Yeah, I should also mention the avoidance of planning, which is related to confusion. Confusion, daydreaming in excess, not planning anything at all, even if it could destroy your life. I have in my own experience an example like that. Luckily, the person changed now for his own good. It's not something against men. I also know I have other examples with women, but it's a person I just know better. And this person has a Pisces moon, so very strong Pisces energy, and yeah, he used all this energy just for daydreaming and being in reverie and meditation and letting go in not very good way of all the other aspects. So with a total avoidance of planning, goal setting, anything like that. So yeah, as I said, a tool for that would be accessing a grounding force, just like spirit guides who can help us with grounding, with creating a schedule, even if it feels so heavy, so horrible to do that. Like, oh, I'm free, I'm going to go with the flow, why do I need a schedule? But if you have this energy very, very strong in you and your life is falling basically into pieces, and by life I mean your balance and happiness, and yeah, by no means is it only one fits all recipe for everybody. But if you feel what I just said, creating a plan is wonderful. As simply as writing at the beginning of the day, what's the plan for today? What are the general goals for this week, month, year? And the holy grail of this, of course, what are the goals I wish to manifest in this lifetime, or even in a time span of an eternity? Yeah, so all of these things are really helpful. And about the person I said, I'm very happy that he has actually started to do this, and now his life is balanced and everything is fine. Okay, next thing which I mentioned, escapism, addiction, drugs, alcohol, excessive sleep, daydreaming, gambling addiction, sex addiction, addiction to certain emotions, attachments to certain behaviors that are self-destructive or destructive for the other people around us. So yeah, as cliche as it may sound for Pisces, yes, these are the shadow sides that often appear in the lives of the spiritual seekers. And no wonder that many participants into support groups for addicts have strong spiritual inclinations. And that's how they found the spiritual path, by getting addicted to something so strongly that they needed to turn to God, or they needed to turn to that support group that turned them to God as a solution. As Carl Jung says, something like spiritus versus spiritum, which basically, I'm not sure if it was the actual quote, but it was similar, that spirit against spirit, as in spirit, the drink, against spirit, divine energy, God. So what do you choose? God or the drug, the addiction, the lower astral realms, so unconscious beingness. I get even worked over if I think about this, because I myself had an eating disorder for a very long time, which is also an addiction. And interestingly, I even skipped mentioning eating disorders. And yeah, it's the exact same recipe: letting go and letting God, prayer, surrender. Whew. And actually, the archangel who oversees the groups that help addicts heal is Archangel Michael. And interestingly, the person who created the symbol for the meetings is very similar to Archangel Michael's seal. It's all about purification, protection, and returning to life purpose, to divine life purpose, which is actually the exact recipe for freeing from addiction. And if you feel you might have an addiction or an attachment, I ask Archangel Michael to release you from those toxic cords of addiction across all time, space, dimensions, and realities, that you may get the guidance to pursue your divine life purpose, to be supported by people on the same path as you. It's very important. That's why support groups are so efficient. There are many people supporting the addict to heal. Many people who have healed already or are in the process of healing. So the power of group healing is extremely powerful. And perhaps another lesson of Pisces, because Pisces is unity. We are all one. So yeah, I am very happy that you came today. It was actually very emotional for me to do this live, because I myself had issues with the shadow side of being a spiritual person, or of being under the sign of Pisces as an archetype. And lastly, I want to ask the violet flame to clean us, purify us, connect our energy centers to divine source, and to envelop us in beautiful divine protection. Thank you for participating, and see you next time in March for the next sign, which is Aries. Kisses.